Why hello everyone and welcome back to the Nullius mod. This is Otaku Showboat and today there have been 2 updates to Nullius since the last time we met. In particular, the big thing here is that electric boilers now exist. This is a essentially the heat exchanger building recipes done in a building that only takes electricity rather than needing to build a whole bunch of solar collectors next to it. Now, this isn't gonna be a way of making power, it's gonna consume it. This is really for when you need steam as steam, rather than anything more complex than that. I can see if you're not using a water fill mod where this might come in handy, being able to just use grid-based power to get rid of your byproducts by venting the steam through water, like fresh water into water and wastewater processing, dealing with it that way. So some uses to this. I don't know how often I will actually use this. There's also now a wastewater boiling recipe that gives you a sludge byproduct, which you can then process in a hydro plant back into wastewater. So yeah, just things. There is a desalination 2 recipe in physics, which I believe is also designed for lithium. I believe it's designed specifically to get into lithium a bit more easily, but yeah, or into brine or something like that more easily. So stuff that will happen later on. There's some balancing things, including marginally faster compressed air. We should have a look at the marginally faster compressed air to see if it actually has that it's matching up now with 150 air in to match with the air filter onto a compressor. That will be interesting, to say the least. There's also a 1.2.3 that does a few more things that aren't exactly relevant to our current state of the game. Those are those things. There is a missing hi. That's new. I haven't seen that one before. Now that's a thing that just happened. The base game tried to load something in that it couldn't load in. Let's continue with our save. I've done a little bit of work off screen. Last time we met, I began work on an ECH build. Not an ECH build, an epoxy build using ECH. Excuse me. Big difference there. And we built something with a very interesting shape, as well as all of this. I'm going to be deleting the vast majority of this because I have changed my mind. I'm no longer going to be doing literally all the things to get into epoxy in one factory. Instead, what I have done is I have set up more ECH as well as methanol. I have these 2 things on my network now. I also have propene on my network now. And it is, in fact, absolutely glorious. This means we're going to need to do BPA, and then we can get into epoxy. So, today is actually going to be based around getting into BPA in a factory place I have not built. So let's look at some of the things that I've done off screen here. The very first thing I did was this. Now this is individual units, times 3. This is chlorine production. Dedicated, exclusive chlorine production. We have 8 electrolyzers from mirrored setup. We have 6 distillery 2s, including mirrored varieties. They output water, and the water is getting dumped directly into a little outfall on each side. We have waste processing and water processing to get into the saline water, into brine for this process. And we, of course, have the seawater down here. And then you need to deal with the sodium hydroxide, so it's all going into caustics and getting dumped. And that will, of course, require regular water as well as waste dumping. So down here, we have all of that. So the bottom section is just dealing with the sodium hydroxide. We have the saline production into brine in here, and then the electrolysis in here. One long line. Each one of these lines makes 400 chlorine per second. I have 3 of them here. So that's about 1,200 chlorine per second provided onto the train network. Over here, in this area, we have a slight modification to that very same build, this time focused on actually getting the caustics out rather than the chlorine. Now, in this specific case, what I have done after the electrolysis actually going into boxed sodium hydroxide this time, just to improve throughput throughout. This I have added. What does this do? This processes all of the chlorine and hydrogen into hydrogen chloride and then into hydrochloric acid at the end. Now, this hydrochloric acid goes all the way down the pipeline into this. This, of course, being the destruction of hydrochloric acid through limestone processing. Now, I do have boxed limestone processing with boxed mineral dust and the boxed calcium chloride solution in here, which does get voided at the very end. And this will very effectively deal with all of that excess hydrochloric acid. My point of this is that I am getting caustic out of it. A lot of caustic, actually. I believe it is 1,000. I believe that this is actually like 1,000 caustic per second in this build, because it's based off of the 400 chlorine build. So, yeah, that's a thing. It's an extra 1,000 caustic solution on my network now. And then propene is over here. This is a glorious build. Absolutely glorious. Very, 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 very power-hungry build. It uses over 350 megawatts to produce 1,000 propene. It's over 350 because this isn't taking into account the air filters required to make that much air. But yeah, for all intents and purposes, this is that build. It is split into, rather than 1,000, into sets of 100. So it's really more like 10 sets of this, of 35.4-ish, with similar building counts. Odd numbers are rounded up to the nearest even number most of the time. So, yeah, just in effect, it's alkene synthesis that's cycling all the other stuff, outputs into more propene in the end. And we've done this before previously, and we've looked at this before, and yeah, this ends up being a bit better overall than the alternative recipe, which is the light alkene synthesis. I looked at light synthesis and I looked at full regular alkene synthesis. And as it turns out, there is a little bit of a power difference between the two in favor of the regular pressurized alkene synthesis instead of the light alkene synthesis. For whatever reason, it's just a bit more power here. You do end up with like 18,000 nitrogen, so if you're looking at potentially trying to offset the power, if you didn't have a solar base for power production, you could use the nitrogen through compressed nitrogen and offset more of that power, but I'm sticking with this. This is my propene. I've got tons of propene. Now, why did I do all of that? So that I could scale up my ECH and simplify the build dramatically. So previously we did like the propene here at ECH and brought in hydrogen chloride and decomposed it to hydrogen and chlorine to provide the chlorine. Now we just bring in extra chlorine. We bring in propene and we make ECH. We are actually now processing all of the brine. We are processing all of the brine into caustics, and the excess caustics are being deleted from the face of existence. In this setup, note that I have split this here on the outputs, so this section just gets completely deleted. All of the caustic goes away. This section gets used, and just, the splitters are preferentially inputting into these, so I will always have enough caustic to keep the system going, and then all of the sodium hydroxide that remains can get deleted up here. It's as simple as that, and that is making all of 200 ECH per second. 200 ECH per second. It needs an input of 460.1 chlorine. This step here is only here to show me how much chlorine I need. But 460 chlorine, yeah, brought in because the brine processing gives me a lot of the chlorine that I need back to input into this. The only thing that's expensive here, that's truly expensive here, is the propene. It needs 603 propene in total. Yeah. And one thing I haven't mentioned yet among all these things is that I have gone through and adjusted which modules I'm using to minimize the power draw rather than minimizing building counts. I've tried to minimize power draw, and even though I could use yield modules on many of these steps, on all of these steps, it's actually better to just reduce the amount of power that they draw rather than increase the yield. Since I'm not that keen on using beacons at this moment in time, that's another key thing. Because I don't intend these factories to be 100% operational all of the time, I don't even think that these machines are going to be operational 10% of the time. Well, in this case, it would be 60% if I was using all of that propene. And at the moment, I'm not even using the 200 ECH. You get, I'm overproducing on a lot of stuff very purposefully, just as how I design in general. I always try to overbuild, which means that my buildings tend to have a lot of downtime throughout the entirety of the base. In fact, there are periods like right now where I'm sure that the vast majority of my base isn't actually doing anything right now, which means that the beacons are not that great of an idea if you're beaconing efficiency, power reduction, because the beacons do use 100 kilowatts each at minimum, always. And you can only beacon a small amount of the module, half of the one module, out on a beacon 1. So you need to be influencing enough buildings around you, around that beacon, to reduce more than 100 kilowatts. But you also have to think about, oh, if those buildings aren't actually moving, am I still going to get that same 100 kilowatt savings or more? No. No, no. Just straight up, no. You're not. Nah. It's not happening. It's not happening. So, that's why I don't, is because I do have huge downtime on my stuff the vast majority of the time. And I design in a way that I have a lot of downtime on my factories as I plan out other stuff. My base is only using like 300 megawatts right now, even though it could be up to over a gigawatt right now if everything were operational. So, I need BPA. We are going to add that to the top. BPA. What are we going to be doing now that it has been 16 minutes? I need to set up this. I am going to pin this. Hello, you. Pin. It's very, 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 very simple of a process. Why have I not moduled? I apparently have not moduled this. And even though this factory is going to use more power by doing this, it will reduce the amount of propane that I need on here, which is very, 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 very ideal. I do not need to worry about the monoxide on this. Now, I did not break down the carbon monoxide yet and hydrogen. That is odd. Why did I not plan that? I don't know. That'll come from that. That'll come from... Oh boy. That'll come from that. From that. There you go. Much better efficiency. Now, watch these numbers. 18.4. 19.4. 18.4. 13.6. Despite saving buildings down here, when these buildings are done efficient with efficiency modules, this just wins the vast majority of the time. So, BPA is what I shall do here. Yeah. Now, I already have things that I can copy and paste to get this stuff down here. I do need to deal with the ethylene and propene. Now, this time, I'm gonna be dealing with that ethylene by combusting it with my combustion chamber too. Now, that does mean that I need oxygen, regular oxygen, and that is fine. I will need a whole bunch of hydrogen for this. I have a linked thing here that's giving me a bunch of hydrogen. That's going to be 2 barrel pumps. Wow. Wow. That is a lot of oxygen. I find it weird that there isn't a compressed, like, ethylene or a version of this recipe that uses compressed oxygen. Like, why do we not have a combustion set of recipes for the ethylene, propene, and benzene that use compressed oxygen? That seems like something noticeably missing in this mod right now. So I have to, like, uncompress compressed oxygen in this build through the barrel pump to get into the oxygen to destroy the excess ethylene. Now, the propene, of course, is already used up here. Propene and the benzene get used. I will be using a top-up valve on my input train station to provide whatever else oh, right, this doesn't even need the propene in. Right, because it's at ratio between the propene and benzene to make the BPA. It's all in the ethylene and dealing with the ethylene. If you reprocess the ethylene, it throws off this ratio. That's one of my issues here. You can do ethylene pyrolysis and like the methane into ethylene again to increase the thing, but it changes the ratio of propene to benzene to be very different than what you need for the BPA, so that's why I'm not going to use it in this very specific scenario. All right, let's get to it. It's beyond time to actually get moving. We're already halfway into today's video, and I've done absolutely nothing. And then, of course, over here, I didn't actually show you the methanol build, but it's very similar. It's the build that we did last time to get the compressed carbon dioxide. It's essentially the build that we did last time to get into the hydrogen and oxygen. I say essentially because I made it look a little less phallic. I made it look a little less phallic. Just copy pasted it. Uses a few fewer electrolysis machines. It's making the methane, compressed methane in here. It's voiding the water and making its own water down here. Ha ha, ha 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 ha. Do remember that I used to reuse this water? Now that I have water anywhere, I am not using this water at all, this output byproduct water. Why? Because I don't like potential points of failure. Yeah, I can loop the water back into the electrolysis, but that introduces a potential point of failure. And, yeah, I try to eliminate those when I can. The ones that I'm okay with eliminating, that is, and then just make methanol from the methane and oxygen. Methanol, lots and lots and lots of methanol. How much methanol? It's something. 200 methanol in that particular build at 86.3 megawatts when it's actually operational. I think I'm going to have to go back down here to do the next, the BPA build. I think I'm going to have to do that with the BPA build. I do have rail, plenty of rail, so we're going to go all the way over here and build that out. And you know what? I will see you when I have built the skeleton train station. Hey, my dolly's joined me. Hey, my sweetheart. Yeah, how's my baby? How's the baby? Yeah, meow? Meow? How's the baby? I'm just finishing up building here. I'm just finishing building this. Yeah, meow? Miss Meow? Yes, hi. Hi, my dolly. How's Dolly? Oh, she's leaving? She's leaving already? Oh, there's that poofy tail. Yeah. Oh, do you want to go to the window? She wants to go to the window. I have to reach over. There she goes. That's it. That's it. I have to reach to open up the curtain. I have to open up the curtain for the baby. Alright, we are, in fact, ready for this build. This build needs no inputs whatsoever to make BPA. Now, you may be wondering, well, then why are you doing it on a separate factory if it can just be built out of nothing? Can't you just, you know, do it where you need it? Yes? But what I've come to understand, what I've come to realize is, yeah, when I do things like a quote-unquote standard build, the problem with having a standard build to plop down is that it's either not going to make enough or it's going to make way too much. And I don't really feel like tailoring what is supposed to be a standard blueprint that I can just plop down. Like, what? I'm gonna have variations of this for all sorts of potentially infinite scenarios, depending on how much, like, graphite I need? It's like, huh. Because I do have a graphite blueprint, and I could use it on site, and I have used it on site, but you know what? It's either going to be too much, or it's going to be not enough in how much it produces. And if it's not enough, then the next one that you build, when you plop 2 of them, then that's going to be way too much. So every time, you're going to have way too much. The only time you're going to have enough is from the build that you originally built it for. So no more with those builds to get stuff on site, and I definitely don't want to take the time to tailor make that infrastructure every single time I need it. So we need at least 27. Speaking of tailor-made builds, now I can do a 30. I think I'll do the 30. Yeah. So essentially it's this plonked over here, overlap, plonk that, and there you go. That is, in fact, that. To give me my compressed carbon dioxide. Wait. What? You. There. What? Why does that say 538.1? Oh, because it outputs excess. Okay. Alright, that's a very interesting thing. Remember what I said about not wanting to have potential points of failure overall? Yeah, I think that's gonna be one of those times where I'm gonna just have to overproduce on this. Now, is the difference big, like massive? I don't know, I have to see, because I'm gonna have 15 of these things, of these compressors. Well, realistically, I'm going to have 30 of these distilleries, producing 2,400 carbon dioxide, and 2,400 carbon dioxide makes 600 compressed. I need 604.8. And I really don't feel like adding another, like, entire unit just for that, so I guess in this case I'll have to do that, have that potential point of failure on that loop back, because I'm lazy. And again, I want it to look nice too, so it's not like I'm gonna not have to build an entire extra unit up here. Like, I would have to build 40 and go way, way, way over. Again, I am trying to not tailor make some of this. Come on, my bots. And I shouldn't have enough stuff for all of this. It should be way more. Yeah, it's 10 more-ish air filters than I have. And of course, a lot more modules than I'm carrying on all of that all of those efficiency modules. That's a lot. Aren't I supposed to be carrying around 100? Yes, I am. Alright, well, that's going to be those 2 steps. The next one is making the pressurized carbon monoxide. That's effectively you, yes? That's like the same, except it's going to be 16 buildings rather than 13. So I'm actually going to just copy this. Oh, I need the, I need the hydrogen first. So that will be 13. Oh boy. If I could do like 14? Get rid of those? Yeah. Not that orientation. Not that one. You. You. I could cut down the water a little bit, but I'm not going to. So it would be 2 of this. I would need to add the water as well, so let me plonk. And get you aligned again. Walk right over here and plonk. Boop. Yeah, there. And there. And there. And there. That. 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 And that. Excuse me. You shall not be out of reach. Bots. Back in the pack. Go do my bidding. Could I just trim? No, don't think. Just build. Just build. No more thinking. Time for building. Back in the pack. Now, will I have enough buildings? No. No, I will not. And am I using the oxygen? Not all of it. Some of it, not all of it. I will keep independent lines on the hydrogen. I do understand that when I upgrade my pipes at the end of the epoxy build itself, I will in fact not need... Wait, what? Wait, what? No, I don't need you. Go away. I must have done a paste rather than grab that blueprint. Oh well. Get in my pack. Get in my pack. The backpack is immediate full recharge on all of the robots, by the way. That's why I pick them up. Now, the oddness is that if they do manage to eat up all of the power out of the hangars, then they will not be dispatched on new missions until the hangar recovers some power. But, it's easy enough to get around. So now we can have a look at this. I need the inputs on this side. I will do this right here. Now that's 13. So I do need 3 more. But oh god, right there. Looks like I'm out of regular pipe and I'm out of underground pipe as well. My train has more, but I do need to go and restock anyway. With more buildings. I will continue plonking stuff as we go. I will then need 8 of these distilleries. I have these over here. Propene. Why, hello, propene. It should be this exact same recipe. So as long as I grab the infrastructure, I should be good. That looks right. There we go. Oh, and you as well. Oh, that's gonna be interesting. Oh, I'm out of distilleries, right. This will use 707.6, and this will use 604.8. I'm going to need to do tank shenanigans with this hydrogen. So what does that mean? It means that I need to do this, pretty much. I would like if everything was within power range, and that is. So, means that I need to input there, and somehow input there, and then have my independent outputs to here, and over to here. There we go. That will solve that. Now, the oxygen, I only need... well, I'm going to overproduce by 302.4. I will need compressed oxygen. And since I'm overproducing by 302.4, that isn't quite an entire line. Oh well. Just means I get to combine these two lines. And I will need somewhere to have an auxiliary valve doing venting. Just auxiliary void there for now. I need a barrel pump. 2 barrel pumps, actually. Where are my barrel pumps? Barrel pumps? Hello. Hello, barrel pumps. You are going to be undoing the oxygen. The both of you. Oxygen. Let's get some alignment. The what? Oh. There's that oxygen. That oxygen is going to be going into these combustion chambers, 2s. I need a mirrored. I'm not carrying anything to do the mirroring. Whoopsies. Fine, then. Let's grab the stuff from my locomotive. You? Oh god, I never restocked my regular pipe. Well. Oh well, then. I will need to replace one of these with a mirrored entity. Maybe? Wait, maybe? Or not? I think... the ethylene... That's not ethylene. Ethylene, yes, you. Right there. Yeah, I'm gonna need to, adjust that a bit with a mirrored entity. Yeah, it won't really let me place that there, but we're gonna have a line here. This should be carbon-carbon, and then this should be or ethylene, ethylene. And then this would be oxygen, oxygen, and this would be ethylene again. So this will be the oxygen, this will be ethylene, this will be ethylene. Oh boy, that needs to be there, like that. Okay, that is the ethylene combusting. Now we only need to get into these last 5, making the boxed BPA. Oh, thank goodness. Now the throughput here of the propene, or the benzene, is really low, so we can have these be here. Now, because these are different, no, I will not have these completely abutting one another. Yes, mirrored exists. This would be another one of those cases where I think the intent is to use the mirrored building every other. See? Now we have an interesting setup. No, that's actually not what I want, game. And you have to cycle back, right. This CO2, compressed CO2. I need a top-up valve here. Not... What? What? Ugh. Okay. I haven't even brought the carbon. Yeah, I haven't even brought the carbon over. Great. Let's bring that over. It's here. And then this guy was there. Oh boy. No, that won't work. Not there. You're gonna go down. You went down too much, but that's fine. Top-up valve. There you go. Connect that. Get the waste water deleted. The fun part. Now that connects oxygen, yes? Alright. That is compressed oxygen. Where is that line? Here. There's the compressed oxygen, and the propene will come in here. And the benzene will flow in from there. Now, apparently, the pass-through rate pressure is 40%, but that's fine because it's always been designed, it has been designed that this is the lowest throughput input on the pass-through ports. So even though it is only 40% pressure going through these buildings, it's okay because you don't need as much on these lines. It's only going to really be an issue on really big builds. Now, you may wonder also, because yeah, this is producing a solid output. So I have to do that too for my solid output, and then we have to set up the trains and do all of that. I am going to go and restock on my pipes, my regular pipes. How many regular pipes are missing? Over 200, so I will need to make sure I get a lot of those. Maybe get an extra stack, but I will return once I have restocked at my mall with stuff. And I'm back. I'm just placing down some power along the rail here for the trains, train station, and putting down a radar here at the end. Apparently I missed a spot when building out this train station. Alright, let's complete the build and turn the lights on, shall we? That'll be glorious. Then we get to do the train station setup, and then we're done for the day today, having ourselves boxed BPA once we get all that done. So let's get on with it, shall we? Let's get all of this pipe placed. And you know what? I'll see you once the pipe is placed, because this will take a few minutes, couple minutes. Well, I think all of the pipes have now been placed. All the extra buildings that needed to be placed have been placed. All the modules have been inserted, etc., etc. It is time to turn the lights on. That sounds like a wonderful idea. Let's make sure everything is in fact covered by power. And by everything, I mean everything is covered by power. I need to still make this mirrored combustion chamber, or a set of them, so that I can plonk that like so. And that should complete everything, as long as I attach to power. And it should just move at this point. I won't need to do anything else, provided I've done everything correctly. And I wouldn't put it past me that I've forgotten at least one thing in here. I am most likely... I will have most likely have forgotten. Oh, look, this wasn't hooked up. There. Hey, that's ideal. Having all of that hooked up. Yeah, that would be great. You know what would also be great is if I had actually changed this to the carbon monoxide recipe, as I was supposed to, as well as put down the void for the water. That is not the compressed version of the carbon monoxide recipe. I need the compressed version of the carbon monoxide recipe. There we go. That's so much better. Now, there is 483.8. That is within enough for one glorious thing. I will need to get rid of all of that so that the compressed carbon monoxide can flow. Oh, and I apparently also haven't actually hooked up the carbon monoxide into this. Always gonna find errors. This is why I sit here and watch the thing move and let it move all the way through the end. This needs yield on all of those. Am I supposed to use yield on you? On these? No, I am not. I'm supposed to use efficiency on these, not yield. So just double checking to make sure everything is good, and we are in fact making BPA boxes. That is in fact glorious. Oh my god, that's a lot of steam. Oh my god, that's a lot of steam. Oh, hoo 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 hoo. Well. Uh-oh. Sure. Do that. That's gonna get rid of all that ethylene. Yeah. That had better get rid of all that ethylene. My goodness. Between the three of these. 8. Yeah, that's 288. These are gonna be operating most of the time. But it should keep things moving. We are making glorious BPA. We're making 5 boxes of BPA. Just to make that clear, 5 boxes of BPA per second is the equivalent of 5 times that amount of regular. So it's 25 BPA per second is how much is actually being made. That is a lot. A lot. I need to grab a U. It has been pointed out, I need to make this known, that mini loaders, when inputting into a thing, have essentially infinite throughput. They don't match the belt speed on the input, because the moment an item gets grabbed and it's deleted / removed, a new item will come in to fill and take its place, and the swing speed is just fast enough to compensate. So if I had like a blue belt of throughput going into a single red mini loader, 45 items into a red, or even into a yellow, all of those items will go in at the rate of the belt that I put in to input the thing. I consider this to be exploiting a bug, so I'm not going to do that. You may or may not have noticed that I don't tend to do a bit of a exploit in the base game where you can use different types of underground belts on the same line. So if I had yellow belts, I could actually quote unquote braid the yellow belt undergrounds along the same line. I don't do that because I consider it exploiting mechanics. So this really feels like a mechanics exploit, and I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to try to make sure that I use the appropriate mini loader speed for the amount of stuff that's being input at all times. That is my plan. Anyway, we need a locomotive. Oh, have I mentioned that I have locomotive 2s? I totally have locomotive 2s now. I replaced every single locomotive in my entire base with locomotive 2s. You may or may not have noticed, they are all locomotive 2s now. That took a little while. That took some time to replace all of that. I'm gonna limit these to that. I need to set the train station names. SBPA boxes, and over here we have depot BPA boxes. I may need more throughput than this, but we shall see. You know what? Have a full line of 10. Auto Magic BPA box S to D full cargo circuit condition. Auto magically we go along. And then we just need to define our BPA boxes, and we are done. The BPA boxes. With that, folks, I would like to thank you all for watching. This has been Otaku Showboat. If you have enjoyed today's video, please be sure to do all of the social engagement stuff down below. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe if you've not yet subscribed, and hit the notification bell. Consider becoming a member of the channel by hitting that great big blue join button and supporting on Patreon at patreon.com/otakushow. But if you're so inclined and able, I will be back when I am back to make the epoxy, and I will see you all on the next one.